Hello guys, Omni here. Sorry about the hiatus on videos here in the past couple of days. I've recently been out of town, but just got back just in time to catch episode 5 of season 8 of Game of Thrones, the penultimate episode of the final season, The Bells. Now, we're going to do things a little bit different to kind of save on time. Before, in the previous videos, the majority of the video was taken up by the recap, and I'm going to try to avoid that by just only focusing on some real key moments that I feel like I need to talk about, or at least that I want to talk about and clarify on. Because with the recaps before, it was too much of a priority to get the recap finished and over with that I would forget to take a moment and stop and talk about some of the things that I wanted to. And by the end of it, I forgot about what I wanted to talk about. So go ahead, as should be assumed at this point, this is going to involve spoilers for tonight's episode 5, The Bells. So if you haven't seen the episode, go ahead and tune out. Now, I will say, and go ahead and clarify, I think this was a good episode. There's a lot of interesting decisions that I definitely don't understand and don't agree with. And I know a lot of people aren't going to, but I think as an episode itself, especially with the way this episode's shot and the feeling, the tone, and the tension in this episode is really effective. But we'll go down and we'll get to that points, get to some of those moments that really, I think, push it into that positive ground. But the first scene of the episode, we get a character death. Tyrion has ratted out Varys and his plans to betray Daenerys to her, and this results in his execution by Drogon in the opening scene of this episode. You have a nice tense moment where everything's building up to something. You don't quite know what it is. You cut over to the Iron Fleet, who are looking up in the sky, and the sun's kind of like piercing through the clouds a little bit, creating this kind of like flare-ish effect, making it hard to see, blinding them a little bit if they have to look up. And they see something a little strange, and Dany dive bombs out of the sky on Drogon and completely like Star Foxes the crap out of the Iron Fleet, barrel rolling, dodging all of their attempts to hit them, using the sunlight and the clouds to, blur and distort their vision. That's what I'm going with, at least, for why they can't hit her. And she, in an instant, decimates the entire Iron Fleet, destroys it. Like, they took out Rhaegal pretty easily, and she's been too blind to see them the last time they showed up. But this time she was on point, she was ready, and got the jump on them, even though I think it's a little crazy, but whatever. I'll go with it. It was awesome to watch. Euron jumps off his ship. We'll get to that later. And after she destroys all of his ships, she just flies straight into King's Landing. And none of the scorpions can hit Drogon, but she goes through and destroys every scorpion around the city. I will say, the moment that Qyburn tells Cersei that not only have they lost the Iron Fleet, they've lost all the scorpions, but not only that, moments before, which he delivers the news, after she's destroyed all the scorpions, she comes out from behind the gate, the main gate to King's Landing, where the Golden Company are housed on the other side, which I'm surprised that nobody heard this giant dragon coming, but she blows the gates down and just melts through the Golden Company. So literally all of their objectives, all of their adversaries, all of their obstacles that King's Landing had to offer, she single-handedly took out by herself, which I think is a little much. As awesome as it was to see, it just like completely cut any of the tension out of it, which I think helps build with what they're going for in this episode. So the forces breach into King's Landing, and they just are wiping the floor with them. After Dany's forces clearly are winning, Lannister soldiers lay down their arms, and there's this nice build-up as tension where the armies are facing each other. It's pretty much that the Lannisters know they're defeated, and at any point if they keep fighting, they're just done. Daenerys is just roaming the skies, lighting everything ablaze, and then she perches up, and there's this nice moment where everybody's just waiting for the bells, and Dany's like trying to keep her breath and stay calm. Like, they better read them bells. They better ring them, or I'm just going to go burning everything. Tense scene until the bells finally ring. And the Lannister soldiers lay down their arms, and everything's all good and dandy until Dany has this moment where she looks at the Red Keep and loses it. Like, she starts flying straight to the Red Keep, and you think, she's just going to go straight for it. But she doesn't. She like veers in and out of just the outer skirts of King's Landing and just starts opening fire on the soldiers and civilians themselves. Grey Worm takes this note as a sign to just keep pushing, and he chucks his spear into the Lannister soldiers who have disarmed, and things just go crazy. And Jon is horrified. He is like in shock that this is happening. His men, the Northmen, even join into the action, just like hyped up on the adrenaline and the testosterone, I guess, and just start pillaging. And even some of them attempt to rape some of the civilians, to which Jon comes to enough to save a couple of them, and even having to kill some of his own men. This ground level approach to this horror that Dany is raining down on everybody is so thrilling and crazy. From here, things go crazy. We cut inside the keep. Sandor goes in. He has this heart-to-heart with Arya, sends her away, and basically tells him, you don't want to be me. He basically turns her away from this quest for revenge, and she acknowledges it, thanks him by his first name. She calls him Sandor, and he goes off to fight the Mountain, which is an awesome fight. When it's all said and done, I don't understand this episode, man. So many things. Like, Jaime confronts Euron washed up on the beach. Euron gets 2 good stabs on him, and Jaime's not going to survive these wounds. He manages to, by the skin of his teeth, kill and finish off Euron. Also, there was these 2 people that were kind of following Arya around that we kept seeing some focus on, some people in the peasant shots. Kind of thought it was this mother and daughter. Part of me was thinking, like, well, Arya came across these guys and they're focusing on them quite a bit. Part of me was like, oh, they're going to be faceless men. But yeah, it's just a slaughter. This is just a complete slaughter. Dany has officially completely lost it. And this is where we're going to go into the pros and cons of this episode. The parts of this episode, we'll start with the pros. I think this episode did really well at setting up the tone and the tension, the horror of the chaos that Dany's assault on King's Landing is causing. It's so visceral. There's so much like really great gore. There's a lot of terrible, horrible imagery, and just the way it's shot is just gorgeous. I think the Varys and Tyrion scene in the beginning is a really good little short moment, very short, but it definitely had a lot of emotion and heart to it that I really liked. Same with the scene with Jaime and Tyrion in the tent before he releases him. Great moment. The emotion that Peter Dinklage delivers in that moment where he's like he knows this is probably the last time he's ever going to see Jaime, and he's just pouring out his emotions to his brother that he loves. The one and first person to ever really treat him as something more than just a dwarf. One of my favorite moments was, of course, like I said earlier, was Cersei's reaction to Qyburn telling her that all the Scorpions, the Iron Fleet, and the Golden Company are all completely decimated. They have no defenses left. Arya trying to escape King's Landing was intense, crazy. I loved all of that. But the best part of the episode, one of the best parts of the episode, is definitely when Clegane Bowl happened. In the middle of all of this, after Sandor went his separate ways from Arya, he went and met the Mountain. This is the most anime fight I think I've seen in this show. It is epic. The buildings falling down around them. There's dragon fire shooting in the air, and they're just going at it. And the city is on fire. They're just clashing swords. The Mountain won't die. He manages to disarm the Hound and get him up, and he stabs and stabs with this little dagger he pulls out and just goes. There's even a moment where they clash swords, and there's almost this like sonic boom kind of sound that you would see, like where if this was an anime, they would have hit and there would have been shock waves from the impact. It was really awesome. And knowing that with traditional means that he wouldn't be able to take out the Mountain in his current state, he plunges him off of the side of King's Landing through some of the broken rubble, and they both fall to their death into the fire. Poetic. I think that's the best way for them to go out. Aside from that, that's really the best moments I can say in this, and I'll go into the cons of the episode. Or some of them aren't really like complete negatives. It's just like, I don't understand why this happened like this. And really, that's Jaime and Cersei as they're escaping King's Landing at the end. He does make it to her after all of this, and they get down to the dragon crypts, and just with everything happening above, all of the exits have been caved in and they're trapped down there before the ceiling of the cavern collapses on the both, presumably killing both Jaime and Cersei. My disappointments is really that Jaime's whole character arc just regresses in one episode, just completely. Like, even though we had our hopes that everything he said to Brienne in the last episode was just to kind of like ease her down, he just completely fulfills on that, goes back to Cersei, does everything he can to try to save her. She doesn't even die at a brother's hand, which also contradicts the prophecy she's been told up to this point, unless you consider that Tyrion had a hand in Dany's whole plan and, you know, vicariously was the reason that she died. Moving on from that is Dany's 180. I understand that she's lost everything. I understand that she said, well, I'll rule by fear. And she could have done that. She could have still done that, but she takes it to this unbelievable degree that I just do not think her character would go, no matter how off the deep end she would go. This is true Mad Queen territory, and I don't feel that she was truly that far gone. Soldiers, sure. The Red Keep, sure. Like, if she had just focused on the Red Keep, I would totally buy that. Like, that is her target. That is where Cersei is. 100% agree with that moment. However, I do not know why she was completely, she was just snapped and not thinking, but the fact that she was just murdering and burning innocent people, the people that she was there, she was lighting up streets that didn't even have soldiers. Just peasants, just civilians. I don't get it. That is the moment where I kind of can't suspend my disbelief for that. Not only has she destroyed the Red Keep, she pretty much set all of the outskirts where nobody of nobility would be living, purely the people that she would be ruling and governing over. She's just took her time and went out of her way to destroy all of that and kill all these people. The only other thing that I'll point out as a con in this episode is just the fact that Arya even went there. I guess it was so that Sandor could talk her out of her revenge plot, but they could have easily done that before leaving Winterfell. I will say that at least her being there and being the character we follow as she's trying to escape all of this chaos, we got some amazing sequences, amazing moments going through all of this beat as she's like running and dodging and like getting trampled over by the people trying to escape the city, and this just mass hysteria was truly tense and crazy and had a lot of great imagery in it. But I just feel like it was just a means to an end to get her down there to have that sequence, because really it didn't matter. That could have been resolved without her even leaving Winterfell. It's just really weird. I have a lot of mixed feelings about this episode. I think it's a really good episode if you're just switching off your gears, because it has a lot of great moments. It's shot really well, but again, with everything else up in this season here recently, it's just not that great of writing. Like, the story and the way things plan out or don't really make a lot of sense. Like, it definitely, this more so than the previous episodes, do I feel like the characters aren't making decisions their character would make in these moments. No excuse for Dany. it's just, I don't know. Jon was getting way too bullheaded in this, way too whipped, and just willing to ignore all of these signs, signals, and everything to let it get this far. I don't know. Uh, we'll see how this all pans out. If we get a great, solid ending, then I can excuse everything that got us to this point, because if it all leads to something that's awesome and then we have a great payoff, so be it. I'll excuse all of the writing from the last couple of episodes if we get just an ending that overwhelms and delivers. So, unlike Cersei being the final boss, it seems like Dany's the final boss, and I think I called that as well. I knew this would end, and with Arya leaving the city, I don't know if she's now going to have Dany on her list or not. If so, do you think Arya will be the one that takes her out? She comes back into King's Landing after leaving? I don't know why she would leave if she just to come back to kill Dany. I think if anything, she's going to flee back north to warn Sansa about what all's happened, because I feel like Dany will turn her sights towards Winterfell. I think she's going to wipe out anybody that knows Jon's secret, and it's going to come down to either Jon killing Dany, Arya making an attempt, Tyrion even might make an attempt at this point. There's a lot of people that I think the only person around that I don't think will try to take out Daenerys is Grey Worm, and I really can't wait to see how they react here in the next episode and how she carries her victory, what her first acts are, what she does after having this win. That's going to be the interesting parts of the next episode, and how much of the episode will be in the present, and how much of the next week's episode will be a prologue, or I'm sorry, not a prologue, an epilogue. Like, how much will we get like a resolution to this arc, this story, and see whoever survives, what happens next with them, some kind of closure. I don't really have a lot of prediction as to what will happen next. It has to be Tyrion, Jon, or Arya is going to kill Daenerys, and I'm really curious to see how this plays out. So I don't know. Sansa being on the throne would be something I would have called at this point, but it didn't play out that way. And plus she's up in Winterfell, and I don't know how they would, get her down there just to have all this happen and orchestrated, unless it's like the Mad King, where like with Ned's brother and father, they were summoned to King's Landing. So maybe she summons Arya and Sansa down, and Jon has to make a decision where she's going to execute them both or something like that. And we get something that mirrors what the Mad King did to their family. And Jon will be in that position of Jaime's now to make that decision to stand by his oath, stand by his word, or save his family and the kingdom from this new tyrant. I'm kind of sad. I kind of always thought it would go this route for Dany. In the end, it's still sad in the way that it played out. I feel like it could have been done a lot more effectively, but this is what we're left with. And yeah, it's I really hope this last episode isn't a letdown, because right now this is probably the most mixed, most divisive season I've seen in Jaime's show that I've ever watched, at least, or kept track of. So it'll be really interesting. At this point, guys, I'm going to pass this off to you all. How did you all feel about this last episode? What are your theories about what's coming next? We got one episode left. What do you think's going to happen? How do you want it to end with what we have so far? Yeah, it's a depressing little spot we're in with this season so far in this series. Used to be everybody united on the one side of the front. Even like people were like a little like bothered by season 7, but nobody was really like, screw this show. Now it's like there's so many people that are just done with how things have taken a turn this season. It's really depressing, because it's almost all I see on social media anymore. It's just people complaining and being upset about what's going on in this season, how Game of Thrones is just a joke anymore. I still find things in this that I really enjoy. It did not go the way that I would have liked. It hasn't panned out the way I would have hoped. but I'm trying to just turn off any of my expectations and just accept the story that I'm being told, in the hopes that I'll, in the end, enjoy it more than I currently am, trying to feed in my own theories, my expectations, how I think it should play out, and just uh, being on the ride for the ride itself. So yeah, I'm going to end it at that. As I said, I'm leaving this to you guys. Leave your thoughts and everything down in the comments below. Let's have a conversation, and we'll carry and continue this on down there. If you like this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. I'll be catching up on some of the other videos that I missed that came out while I was gone here in the next day or so. I'm going to try to get caught up on all of that, so keep an eye out for those. And yeah, that's it for now. I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care.